really don't get to talk. We don't. We are basically told what we can talk about, and that's only like how my day went, not how I feel about all of this, what's been happening.
So you're the supervisor of the station?
Supervised, yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
supervised visitation, yes. So I haven't been able to talk to my mother the way I wanted to because of that.
Great, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Nick.
Do you have written testimony you want to give?
I've previous to.
We can want to, but there you go.
Thank you. Thank you, Nick.
So just check with Dan, just tell him to get on deck, like
Yeah.
here's the next, and here's the one after that, so they're ready to come in.
Okay, now let's get someone on deck.
So Dan,
Yeah.
you'll tell them, okay, great. Thank you.
Am I up?
You're up.
I am, huh?
You're up.
Okay, I want
And
to
I'll
thank
be
you.
giving you timing signals. there.
Sure, okay.
Great, thank you.
I want to thank the committee and the justice. My name's David Love, I'm from Derry. My divorce was in 2006. My ex took out a protective order in which she perjured herself multiple times, and when my lawyer threatened her with pursuing perjury charges, she retracted the statements and the restraining order was voided. After a few months later, we went to the family court for our divorce hearing before a judge. By this time, I'd run out of money and had to proceed pro se. Previously, disabling conditions had rendered me unable to work at my trade. Left knee that had been bone on bone since 1982, a torn rotator cuff and a chronic back condition. My ex had taken me off the family health insurance plan that I was paying for 6 months prior to our breakup, and the only medical verification I could afford was through my chiropractor. After the judge deemed me voluntarily underemployed, I pulled my pants tight around my knee to show the comparison between a very swollen left knee and my normal right one, and told the judge this knee has less than 100 yards on it this morning, to no avail. The judge still agreed with my ex that I was voluntarily and intentionally underemployed. My ex had spent us into financial oblivion. I presented receipts and credit card statements to verify her spending problem. And when I even asked the judge if your husband was the main breadwinner in your family, and he was in the construction business, which is very physical, and he was waking up in excruciating pain multiple times every night, would you be spending $850 on a bedspread and 3 curtains? And yes, I had the receipts. I had checking account statements and store receipts showing how she would use the family bill account debit card to purchase something, then she'd get cash back often to the tune of $1,000 plus per month. Every time I questioned my ex's multiple contradictory statements, the judge threatened me with contempt charges. When I tried to use her statements in the protective order to establish the fact that her word was less than good, with evidence in her own writing and signature, the judge chose to ignore it. In September of 2007, I was deemed disabled at my first Social Security hearing. I received approximately $8,500 in back benefits. My ex received roughly half that for the support of my daughter for the same time frame. Because of my inability to work, I had fallen behind on my child support by $1,200 over that period of time, and I had always paid some, but couldn't always keep up. My ex received the money I was able to pay, plus the back benefits from Social Security. The judge ordered me to pay the $1,200, a classic double dip. After she got my daughter's benefits and the $1,200, my ex and her boyfriend went on a 2-week vacation to the Rocky Mountains. In our divorce decree, my ex was ordered to maintain the health insurance on my daughter. She let it lapse. My daughter Emily had a heart condition that reared its ugly head while she was uninsured. She had to be seen by her cardiologist. The bills came to approximately $2,300. I filed for a hearing in family court, and the judge ruled I was liable to half of it, even after my ex admitted spending Emily's money. on her own vacation, to a point where she had to let the health insurance lapse. My ex and I agreed to share custody. Half the week Emily was with me, half the week with my ex. I received none of the money from Social Security for her needs. In my case, I believe I was a victim of judicial discretion by a judge that had made up her mind well before hearing a word. Although I had apologized for not knowing litigation protocol several times, it was clear the judge wasn't happy with the fact I was doing this pro se. Or maybe she, like many judges, are pro-damsel in distress and anti-man. I'd also like to bring to light the disconnect between DCYF and the family court. My daughter was abused. My ex was reported to DCYF 7 times, twice by me, the other times by school, doctors, and a neighbor.
So David, are you able to leave your testimony with us since we're out of time?
Am I out of time?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Is that way we can get the rest of it?
Sure, yeah.
So that everybody gets a
I'm
copy.
almost done.
Are you almost done? Okay, I was
Yeah.
trying to let you finish up there.
Yeah,
so-
okay. The disconnect between DCYFs. I even confronted Governor Lynch, former Governor Lynch, while at the Manchester fireworks, and I'm trying to screw this up. Showing him knuckle marks on my daughter's spine. All he did was pass me on from aid to aid, and the DCYF workers came and told me, you're just an angry dad. And another thing they told me was, with no hospitalization, no broken bones, there's nothing we can do about it. The enforcement of child abuse laws in New Hampshire leave a lot to be desired. The family units in deterioration, and society is paying a huge price. Our jails are full of broken children, now grown. The blame for this lies largely in the halls of this institution and the courts, but hopefully so does the solution, in the words of my friend Frank, and we wonder why we have a substance abuse problem in New Hampshire. I want to thank the Children and Families Committee and the justices for allowing me to be heard.
Thank you for coming in.
How's your daughter doing, David? She okay?
Well, she's 17 years old now. Her mother doesn't dare lay a hand on her. She's a bright kid. Doing well. Thank you.
Do you want to submit that to us?
Sure.
Do you mind, do you think I'll be able to figure out the pages or
I'll
something?
write the numbers on it.
Okay, we'll sort that out. Or if you can sort them, that'd be great.
No, she doesn't.
You can take it out there and send it over.
Yeah,
One of the
yeah,
guys.
send it in with Dan or someone where you have it
Okay. All right.
together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just hand it. Then you can see right there, testimony. Mike, thanks for coming in. Like, I'll be giving you time signals as you go through, just so you know how much time you have left. Okay. Thank you. You can begin whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to come before you, and thank you for your interest in even investigating this problem, because it is a very gross problem that's been around for a long time. I don't know exactly how to fix it. I do know from looking at court, the way the court behaves, there's a big disconnect in the court. Rarely is there one judge assigned to one case. In my case, I had many judges that looked it over. I tried to get a guardian ad litem involved. Mistakenly, I signed a contract with the guardian ad litem, so that became another ball game for the court to proceed with. And as best I can tell, there was never any continuity between the children and the guardian ad litem. The only time that he was interested in was getting ready to go on vacation, and he wanted to get some extra money. I do not believe that guardian ad litems that have religious affiliations within any state should be a part of the guardian ad litem system, because then they have a method to fund their churches. I mentioned the judges that constantly change, and there's no continuity. The one thing that they seem to all have continuity on is, are you paying child support? That appears to be a guilt relief mechanism solely for their benefit, because after that they have really no interest in the children. I complained many times to the educational problems that my kids were having, both to the court and the guardian ad litem system, no interest. I was advised by the Superior Court Center in New Hampshire to go to the guardian ad litem board. I composed a letter and hand-delivered it to the court, and I was berated for under the idea that I was to have no contact whatsoever with the judge. And I explained that I was told by the told by the Superior Court Center to contact the person that was at that time the head of the board, the guardian ad litem. The guardian ad litem, in my opinion, was not qualified because the documents were not completed. The applications had not been completed at the time the judge appointed this person, and then proceeded about 9 months later before he even rendered any type of a decision. I find another complaint with the court system in that frequently the lawyers do not communicate with the judges in behalf of fathers. I'm not sure why this is. I don't know. A lot of times, and I still have gone over the court system. Frequently, they say nothing. They just let the opposing counsel make their case. Frequently, I've seen that after the hearing proceedings were over and the judge is walking off the bench, the opposing counsel jumps up and says, "Hey, I forgot to give you this," hands him the paper, and the judge walks off. You have no opportunity to see what it was. You have no opportunity to redress the information that was presented to the judge. Along with that idea, I just don't think the court rules are being followed. The one thing that is concerning, and I may have already mentioned this, I'm not sure now, I got it on my notes here twice. No matter what legislation is passed, there's still contained in the rules that the judge has broad powers in these child matters. So no matter what kind of legislation is passed, the judge can blank it out in one signature, and they generally do, in my opinion.
Do you have written testimony that you can hand it to us? Since our time is up, I don't know if you wanted to provide us with your notations or not.
No, they're just scribbled notes here. And I don't mention this in any demeaning way, but I know that in a few years back that one of the justices here in New Hampshire was attacked by one of his children, which was a tragedy. However, it could see that some of these problems exist from the top down.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
You can hand in your card. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you for letting me.
And I'll give you some time so you know where you are.
Sure. Thank you for hearing me today. I'm here to talk on behalf of my son and the system that doesn't seem to very do justice for us. I caught the judge contradicting testimony, medical records, psyche valves. There's so many numerous things that happened in our case, and then the judge let my son move to North Carolina. No evidence was submitted against me at all. I got 7 years protective order. I just have so much overwhelming evidence of wrongdoing. And everywhere I turned, I got shut down. All I was fighting for was for 50-50 custody of my son, or our son. And I don't know, just seems like a dead end everywhere I go. And her attorney got caught lying. She testified against her attorney. She testified against the judge. She got caught contradicting testimonies. And I got a 17-page parenting plan, extremely restrictive that I can't comply with. Everywhere I went, it didn't really matter. I just got turned down. So hopefully, I don't have any ideas how to fix it, how to fix the issue. I just know there's a lot of innocent kids who get stuck in the middle, and mine's one of them. And thank you for your time.
Thank you for sharing.
Inspector does something, give him the card. Thank you. Thank you.
Tina, I'll give you a receipt. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank you for hearing my input. I'd like to see the family courts. I'd like to have somebody speak for the children. I would like to see an advocate who, for checks and balances, that when judges get inundated with all the information to prove an unfit parent, and I'm left with just a judgment that says you don't get the children in favor of the mother. I know a lot of people in DCYF are women. I know people can't conceive that a woman can possibly be a horrible mother. I just think that there has to be, when a judge renders a decision, if they would please have an advocate, somebody who goes over, when I present all the police records, the drug abuser coming to the house, the neglect of doctor's records, with police records where the mother's boyfriend tried to kill the children, and tried to kill my son. When all this stuff is put in place, and all I get is a thing that says, you didn't win. You know, mental illness, it's all documented. She's got extensive record. When a judge, because we're talking about children, I don't believe this is a win, nothing, should be a win-loss between the father and the mother. I'm talking about children who are 3 and 4 who have no voice. The system needs a check and balance for children who are minors that says when a judge is done, somebody has to take a look at the data that came in and have the judge specifically say, I threw out the police record, I itemized it, that this was not relevant, not just a judgment. That I can come back and now say, okay, the judge saw this, I know they saw it, and it's dismissed. So I'm asking for a more extensive reasoning that the courts say that when someone fails my grandkids, I did everything I could, went to court trying to get them. I'm asking that I have that the court said this is not relevant. She wins because she's the mother. And then I want my grandchildren to know I didn't fail them, the courts failed them. That's what I'm asking, checks and balances for the data that came in. I'm not talking little pitty data, I'm talking arrest records, drugs, alcohol, abuse, DSS, extensive records. And here it is now, she's got the 2 children in the house, my son is out of my,
Not paying the fines that she's been
it goes on and on.
given.
I want somebody who, I'm not saying oversee what the judge is, but itemize it. Itemize that here's why, and have the judge put in the record, it was ignored. Acknowledge the data. That's what I'm asking, to give the kids who have no voice a voice. And I appreciate you, but I think it needs overhaul. And I'll be here when the next DCYF, when they go to overhaul that, I'll be here again, asking that someone look into that organization as well.
This, what you've been describing occurred in the context of a divorce between your son and his wife, is that?
Now that is,
Yeah.
but that only happened because I went and sought to get my grandchildren from both of them. They're both, you know, I've seen the drug dealers, I've seen it all, I've seen the abuse, the neglect, I lost in court, which I understand, I can live with it. But I want, my grandkids will know at 18 or whatever, their grandmother did what she could. They didn't just let it go. My son's going through a divorce now, and the judge, it's not family court, divorce, the judge, again, ignored everything. She's living in the house with the 2 kids, they're alternating weeks. So my son's stomach has to be in knots to know that my grandkids are gonna be safe for that week. Because the people coming in and out, she's got poor judgment. It's all over the news when her boyfriend is in jail now, was on their way to kill my grandchildren and my son. And then Now she's got a new boyfriend. Who knows? Probably in 3 months he'll be in jail.
But you still gave her custody.
But it needs to be checks and balances. The judge has to put in a report. This was presented, this didn't sway my decision. Her extensive record, her extensive drug addiction did not weigh my decision. So people can say, hey, I lost, okay, fine, that's the process I would do. But I wanted it, their part to show they dismissed it all. That judge said, that didn't weigh my decision to hand those kids over to a neglectful, abusive mother. When my granddaughter had dangerously low iron, I took her to the doctor said to me, my God, what did you do in 2 months? We've never seen a kid go from dangerously low iron to almost normal. I said, I'm feeding her. I have the bottle. I showed the judge, I have the bottle of the iron that was prescribed by the doctor. She never opened and gave it to her. I kept telling her, I'm there. I watched those children morning and night for 8 months while that mother lived downstairs and she wasn't feeding the children. So finally we took over, and then that's what, she decided she likes to be kept and, whatever. I do have a picture.
Thank you. Yeah.
So
Great.
hopefully checks and balances,
And did you have another question?
No, I understand, no, thank you.
so checks and balances.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Sorry.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Tim, for coming in. You can sit right there. And I'll just be giving you time signals so you know how much time is.
Okay.
And if you have written testimony, we're happy to take that as well.
Okay. Tell me when you'd like me to start.
Whenever you're ready, you go for it.
My name's Timothy Sanborn. I'm a native of New Hampshire. I was born here in Concord. I've lived in Rye since 1986. I'm in my 10th year in the family court. And I believe that's due to the fact that the rules, specifically the Court Rule 2.23a that says all stipulations and agreements in a divorce shall be signed by the parties, was not followed. Court Rule 197, which says signed financial affidavits will be submitted within 30 days of a final divorce decree, were not followed. My final divorce was issued in December of 2009. I spent 2.5 years in appeals, after which my attorney at the time, when I asked him, I said, you told me that a divorce could never be finalized in New Hampshire without signatures. What am I supposed to do now? And he told me you can file a legal malpractice case against us. He threw his hands up in the air. He said it's the only time in his 60-year law career that he's ever said that. So I did that. That turned into a mistrial when my attorney had a mental breakdown and nothing to do with me, and the defendant died 2 weeks later, and they dismissed the case. After a near-death experience, I decided to just drop all this, and then my ex-wife filed in mid-last year to bring us back into the complex divorce court. I've worked with the legislature, testified 6 times to try to help improve the family court system. I thank Representative Itza for him filing a bill in my name regarding the failure of the administrative judge of the judicial branch of the family division during the period from 2007 to 2012 to adequately manage and train marital masters, specifically marital master Fishman, who incorporated recommendations by opposing counsel in an order that effectively denied health insurance to me by reversing a previous decision. Marital Master Philip Cross, who issued a divorce decree without the requisite signatures and the stipulation of the necessary financial affidavits, and further issued an order that I pay the legal fees of $94,278 to my ex-wife in a divorce which prohibited any reconsideration of that order or appeal to any court, including the New Hampshire Supreme Court. I have a copy of that order signed by Judge Susan Ashley on July 20th, 2012. And it specifically states, No further motion filed by Timothy Sanborn, including an appeal to any court, including the New Hampshire Supreme Court, shall serve as a basis to stay, delay, or otherwise interfere with the provisions regarding this order. Totally stripping me of my constitutional rights. This is my story. I see I'm out of time, but I thank you for listening to that much of it.
Do you want to submit that for us, or is that?
Do you have copies for us or some written testimony?
I have a lot of that as Representative Itzel will tell you. I provided copies to his committee when I originally testified about this. Chairman Ingerson said no judge in New Hampshire would ever sign that order, and I said, well, here it is, and they abruptly stopped the hearing and asked me for a copy of it, so I gave them a copy of it.
Well, if you wanted to submit
I'm
something,
happy
to take that.
I'm happy to submit it. I also have a letter from Judge Ed Kelly forwarding me back to the family court to get my issues resolved, which is exactly what I did. I appreciated his advice, and then this is the final order that I got, basically denying me any further recourse. So I'm happy to
If you want to
submit
submit those, that'd be great.
Yeah, do you have a copy of
We'll
it?
get them,
You
we
can
can
get
get
them.
them from Dan though.
Okay.
If you can get them to Dan, he can get them to us.
Yep, no, I'm happy
I
to do
really
that.
appreciate that.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is the testimony? Okay, great, thank you. So I'm going to give you signals as we go along, so you'll have time to rest.
I'm Canon Mark Pearson. I was ordained 42 years ago into the ministry of the Episcopal Church. For a number of years, I've been Chief Executive Officer of a facility in Kingston, which offers family practice medicine and certified credentialed counseling with 2 practitioners. In anticipation of this meeting, I've had conversations with medical and counseling senior staff members from our facility having to do with the subject of families in crisis, divorce, and care of children. I've spoken with physicians and counselors from other organizations. I've also thought about similar experience I've had over the years as a priest. And it's our collective experience that in so many instances, officers of the court and people employed by them have done a good job in caring for the people in question here. They've been caring and compassionate. They've also been overworked, underpaid, and underappreciated. All of us are aware, however, of instances where the system has not worked well. Among various concerns are stories of people where there seems to have been an automatic gender bias against either fathers in general, or I've heard a few stories about mothers in general. And while stories of these instances are comparatively less frequent, they are still too numerous to be dismissed as the mere accusations of somebody who's been ruled against and wishes to rant. I am personally knowledgeable of some cases like these difficult ones over the years, both here in New Hampshire and in other places in which I've served. My medical and counseling staff, all women by the way, tell me of cases consistent with such seeming bias. I have found that it's periodically helpful to review how a system works. In part, this is to make sure that good work is appreciated, good systems are expanded, and the people involved rewarded. And in part, this is to find places where something is out of kilter for whatever reason, whether innocently or not so, and to find attempts to fix those problems. And it may be an appropriate time for a systems review here. Not just because we may be looking for problems to fix, but also that we may be able to give shout outs to those who've been doing a good job. In addition, such a review listens to and respects the concerns of those who do have issues with the system. And it says to those whose objections are way over the top that we have done our due diligence too. I try to do all of this in both the church I pastor and in the medical counseling facility I oversee. Thank you for listening to me.
Have a good time.
I've spoken before an audience before.
Do you have written testimony that you'll?
I gave it.
Oh, that's right, you're giving it. I'm sorry about that. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Keep going. Thank you. Are we filming this? Oh, good. So like I'll just have time signals, I'll just let you know how we're doing.
Does that say 2 minutes?
It
Oh,
does.
from 2 minutes or left.
2 minutes left. Yeah, you've got 3 minutes,
All right.
yes.
Good, well, let's make them count.
Okay.
So, my name's Mike Hill. And what I'm saying to this court is, Judge Kelly, is that our system is corrupted. The house is burning down and we're talking about arranging furniture. That's what it is, the judges are corrupt. I just went to jail for 10 days. You know why I went to jail for? I had 2 sets of text messages that threatened to murder my children if I keep going forwards. Judge Francois wouldn't take them. And it spoke about the corruption in the courtroom by one of the lawyers that represented me. Right? So instead I do 10 days in jail. Right? So in other words, what we have to admit, Frank, me and you talked, and you said it was corrupt. You said Judge Foley was corrupt. Oh, yes, you did. Now, if you deny that, you think that's funny? We have it on tape.
No one's laughing.
Yeah, well, don't smile. And so I have it on tape that after the hearing that you mentioned in family court, Mike, I'm working with Foley, to everybody in the panel, then you're telling me and sit right next to me right into the camera and go, listen, I know he's corrupt. Here's the problem with dealing with the corrupt. There's never a good result. Oh, is that 2 minutes, Frank? So in other words, this is our situation. You know I've got information from the committee that said it's corrupt. The GLA's corrupt. The judge is corrupt. That came from your own committee. We're not denying that, are we? Because I have it with me. Right. Where is the Title IV money? Anybody see it? We're motivated to take our children. I'm fighting corruption. I've had my life challenged on a couple of occasions. What are we doing? We've got to admit the problem. We're playing smoke and mirrors here. We're making it look good. Right? Shaheen, Ahad, through the whole court system. Where are these judges? The JCC has an F federal rating. Why is that? Why is it that we're failing the people of this state? You know, we have a commonality out there. You know what it is? We all love our children. You know what my divorce cost? We didn't have any depositions for the last week in 5 years. $5.5 million. You know why? Because we had to get through statutes of limitations. Not one of those lawyers, not one of those judges said they were innocent. They got off from statutes of limitations because they put the divorce off for 5 years. How about this? I haven't seen my little girl in 10 years, from 12 to 22. This court knew my wife was a borderline personality disorder, destroyed the records. When my son, who was threatened, his challenge was tried to have him murdered 3 different times by the wife. He went to the court-ordered therapist. That therapist said he should never see his mother again. You know what they did? Those records were destroyed. Tim Cunningham, the GLL, went up and said, he goes, oh, well, I don't believe the therapist. Then why did we send him to the therapist? Again, it was about money. I was a wealthy man. You tell me how you spend $5 million